Ranil Wickremesinghe ji, first of all, thank you for speaking to TV9 and taking out time from your busy schedule. I want to start this interview by understanding from you what's the current ground situation and how do you see the scenes unfolding in few weeks or months from now?
It is very fluid. There has been demands for the president to resign, but he told us today that he will not resign, that he hopes to form a new cabinet, certainly with the remaining members of his party, and to carry on. At the same time, protests are taking place in the country, and some more are planned during the weekend. Within Parliament, a number of members have said that they are independent and will not be under the whip of the governing party. It's about 40 plus who have said so. At the moment, the government has a wafer-thin majority.
Okay.
We don't know what will happen in the next few days, whether more members will decide to leave the government whip because their houses are being surrounded, they are being pressurized, and with all the demonstrations that take place, I think they are also feeling the heat and they know the difficulty of turning the economy around.
Okay. Mr. Wickremesinghe, as you mentioned about the political instability in your country, there has been offer from the ruling party, from the government, which is now not in majority, to form an alliance or a coalition government with your party and the larger political, I would say, the coalition in Sri Lanka. What's your views on that? How are you proceeding? Also, have you got any understanding from the TNA as well?
Well, all the opposition parties have said that they are not joining any coalition government. The TNA and the UNP, which attended the all-party conference, certainly put forward the proposal that there should be a party leaders committee that will work parallel with the cabinet. But there has been no response. Then of the members who have now withdrawn from the government whip, when offered ministries again, have refused to serve on it because they are very worried as to what the country will say and that they will be held responsible for the mess that's taking place.
Mr. Wickremesinghe, does that mean that you would want to go for a re-election in the country?
No, I don't think we can go for re-election. At the moment, we are short of dollars. Our reserves are down. We have no money to get fuel, to get gas, to get diesel. We're really stuck. We have no money at all. And until we address that issue and we stabilize the economy, because the rupee now is about 400 until it's 350 plus, going on to 400. So until these issues are settled, I don't think we can have an election because people may not even participate in such election.
Okay. Mr. Wickremesinghe, what if you receive an offer from, say, Mr. Gotabaya and President Gotabaya and Prime Minister Rajapakse to run the government without the election? Since you have done it and there have been a good coordination between you and Mr. Gotabaya as well earlier, would you be open to that offer?
Well, I will tell the President, I don't think he will make that offer to me. He knows my stand, that we will stay in the opposition and help any constructive measures taken by the government. So I don't think we'll come to that.
Okay.
We won't have to cross that bridge.
Okay. Now moving focus from the political crisis to the economic one. Specifically, I want to understand from India point of view. India has already assisted Sri Lanka to the tune of $2.5 billion in terms of fuel, in terms of credit line, in terms of medicines, in terms of the rice and other food material as well. But at the same time, if you look at China's total debt is more than $4 billion. How do you see situation improving in the country?
No, situation will not improve at the moment. Indian money will help us to get through first or second week of May. By end of May, the rest of it will be over. We are thankful to India, but that's just only a temporary solution. But India came in here, and we've been able to carry on till May.
What more would you expect from India to do? Do you see the current government asking more help from the Indian side?
Has done what they could do, and monetarily there are constraints on India helping us further. We understand that. It is that we have to go to the IMF and start talking.
Okay. The other country we have heard, sir, you are looking at is China. What kind of help has been offered from China or has been done from China? And also, what's the status of the demand that has been, or request, I would say, from the Sri Lankan government side to the Chinese side? Have you heard or received anything major from Beijing yet?
No, Sri Lankan government has asked for help, and Beijing was considering it going to be $2.5 billion. They've asked for $1 billion on the financial facilities and $1.5 billion to get goods, because Chinese say that they don't reschedule loans, but they'll give money to repay the earlier loans. But there has not been any reply from China. I think with the uncertain and the unstable political conditions, it's unlikely that you could expect a reply from China until the situation here stabilizes.
I see. On that note, sir, I'm compelled to ask one question. Do you see a pattern, specifically when you see this was brewing for last few, I would say, last couple of years? There's this economic crisis that Sri Lanka is currently, and it started with from the fertilizer issue to the tussle between Colombo and Beijing on a couple of issues. Do you see the Chinese could have helped in terms of loan repayment by Sri Lanka at that point of time?
Well, there was no serious crisis. I mean, we were managing the economy, handling the question of the balance of payments. It went down in with the COVID, and the fact that the government refused to go to the IMF and drew on all our reserves. Now we've exhausted our reserves. So, and we had about $5 billion worth of projects which we had initialed with India, with Japan, with USA. The government cancelled those projects, so those monies were lost to us. Then came the Chinese. They got some aid, but there has been problems with China too on some of the agreements.
What are those? And do you see the impact of those problems on the current economic crisis?
All these are impacting on the current economic crisis.
Okay. Also, sir, when we look at the pattern, we do see a pattern that the countries, specifically the mid or the smaller economic countries where Chinese have entered with the CPEC or any other similar projects, those countries have faced tremendous economic constraint. Do you see a pattern in it? We see it happening in a lot of African countries, in Pakistan. Now we see some similar pattern in Sri Lanka as well. How do you see that?
No, actually, our biggest problem are the international sovereign bonds that we have obtained, and how to find the money to repay them. They are the largest segment of our debt. China and Japan has about 10% each, but this is far more. So how do we have to now meet with the international sovereign bond holders, that's the London Club, and discuss a rescheduling. We'll negotiate a rescheduling, which we have not done before.
That international bonds are roughly up to 1 billion, close to 25% of the total global debt that Sri Lanka has. And as you mentioned that China and Japan point of view, that 10% aspect of it. But do you see if the Chinese government kind of be a little more considerate in terms of the loans or the interests or the repayments, it could ease the situation at least for next few months? And do you see the current government moving in that direction, if that helps?
No, I don't think even China can help us that much. Even if you get the Chinese help, it will be another month or 6 weeks. So these are all stopgap solutions. We have to find the dollars and keep it moving.
And how do you propose to the current government to have that?
And
How do you propose the current government to have that in terms of the solving the economic crisis? How do you see the government should be able to do that? What are those areas?
I don't know, government must come out with the plans. We don't know what exactly they have.
Okay. In terms of the Indian interest, sir, a lot of Indian tourists also visit Sri Lanka. There have been a lot of Indian businessmen there as well. Some of them are returning to or investing in Tamil Nadu. Do you see that impacting further more in terms of the Sri Lankan economic crisis?
Well, now the tourists have stopped coming. After COVID, they just started. But with the uncertain situation here, the tourists have stopped coming from India or from anywhere else. We had tourists from Ukraine and Russia, so they stopped coming with the war.
Yes, I was coming to that specific question, sir. Has the Russian-Ukraine conflict, which has impacted the entire world since we are living in a globalized world and well-connected world, has that contributed to the Sri Lankan economic crisis other than the tourism aspect?
No, it has contributed in the sense that the price of fuel has gone up,
Okay.
price of fertilizer has gone up, price of wheat has gone up.
Would you see some kind of improvement once we have the stability as far as Russia-Ukraine is concerned in coming weeks?
No, not much, because our main problem is the shortage of dollars. So until you resolve that, you can't get out of it.
Okay. Since the dollar part you mentioned, I'll come to the last part of our interview. The European Union, the American government, the Japanese all have expressed major concerns in the current economic situation of Sri Lanka. I don't see that easily solving the dollar, the forex reserve issue of Sri Lanka. Any specific plan or intention do you see from the current government or specifically the opposition under your leadership to appeal to the US or the European Union, because that's where exactly the problem lies, the forex and the dollars?
No, I don't think the European Union, the US can help us that much. We really have to look at more at our Asian friends and partners.
On that note, one last question, sir. What sort of more help would you recommend if you have to send a message to Prime Minister Modi or to the Indian government or External Affairs Minister Dr. Jaishankar? What more would you expect or would you convey to the Indian government that they could contribute or could assist? Because as you rightly mentioned that I don't see the Indian help, even if to the tune of 2.5 billion US dollars going beyond mid-May. What more should be done from India's side? Your request and your message to Indian government and Prime Minister.
Well, I've already had a discussion with Mr. Jaishankar when the Foreign Minister was up here. We sort of examined what could be done. I think we've got to look at the situation and see what are the other areas in which India could help us.
Okay. On that note, thank you so much, Ranil Wickremesinghe, the former Prime Minister of Sri Lanka, speaking to TV9 Bharatvarsh. Thank you, sir.